I am attorney Greg Romanovsky, and I represent Leticia Castaneda.
And Greg, can you explain what the important legal questions were in her case?
Despite what a lot of people think, the U.S. immigration laws are actually very harsh. For example, if you have a case in immigration court to determine whether you can stay in this country or not, you can actually be arrested. The general rule is that if you do get arrested, you're eligible for a bond hearing. An immigration judge would determine whether you are a danger to the community or a flight risk, and based on that, he or she would determine an appropriate bail amount, and you can be bonded out, and you can be free waiting for the outcome of your immigration case. That's the general rule. But a number of years ago, Congress enacted this mandatory detention provision, which says that if you're an immigrant with a criminal conviction, it can be even a minor criminal conviction, like in our case, you're supposed to be picked up by immigration when you're released from state custody to ensure this continuous chain of custody, so to speak, and you're supposed to be held without bail. The idea is that there's this presumption of dangerousness and flight risk. If you're just now being released from state custody, there's very little evidence that you can present to rebut that presumption. So Congress said, let's not take any chances with these people. Immigration, pick them up when they're released and hold them without bail. So what the government started doing is they started picking up people years after they're released from state custody and holding them without bail, saying that they picked them up when released from state custody. And they interpreted when to mean any time after they're released from state custody. And unfortunately, several circuit courts of appeals agreed with the government's interpretation. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 11th Circuit courts of appeals decided that the government is correct and they can pick up these people anytime after they're released from state custody. What we argued in the First Circuit is that when released actually means when released. And it doesn't make sense for the government to be able to pluck these individuals out of their communities years after they're released from state custody and hold them without bail. If they do pick them up, at least they have to give them a chance to argue that they're not a flight risk, they're not a danger to the community, and to be able to seek bond.
And so, Greg, what does this mean now for Leticia and her future?
Fortunately, we've been winning her federal court case, which means that she's free and she can continue to remain free while her underlying immigration matter is pending. And we're hoping that her immigration case will be approved. It's been pending for 2.5 years, and we do expect a decision soon, and we're optimistic. We're hoping that she will be allowed to stay in the country. As far as this particular decision, because we're the only circuit court in the country with this particular interpretation of the when released provision, and because there are other circuits that held differently, I do expect this legal battle to continue, and it is likely that the government will decide to seek review by the Supreme Court. At this point, like I said, Leticia is free, and I'm really happy for her because she is the victim of some really terrible domestic violence, and it's really great to see her persevere and start a new family, and she's actually expecting a child next month, so I'm really, really happy for her.